You're listening to the podcast Coffee with Mike and Julie, Libertarians Talk Psychology. This is current commentary from an MBA businessman and a PhD psychologist.
Look what they done to my song.
Today I want to play a Victor Davis Hanson clip. But before I do, I want to say that what I'm trying to get to today is to talk about my lack of optimism in the past for where our country is headed. And you have expressed some optimism about the pendulum swinging back toward good sense, and I've been very pessimistic about that. So I'm going to get around to that.
We have our fishing neighbor drove past just then.
Yeah, that's our fishing neighbor.
That's our fishing neighbor who goes fishing every morning, every effing morning, I think. Good for him, by the way. So this is the Victor Davis Hanson Show, May 2nd, and the interviewer is Sammy Wink.
The first thing is corporate America, and I was looking at some polls that revealed that in 2002, 50% of those polled said they were satisfied with the influence of major corporations in the United States. In 2021, only 26% of people said that. And yet, when asked about capitalism itself, the views were 84% positive and 97% positive of small business. So it's not businesses per se, but the corporations that are losing support, the respect of the people in the United States. What do you see as going on? Go ahead.
I don't even see it as corporations. I think it's some corporations. If you ask those people, it used to be that the bad, evil people were the oil industry, the car industry. But if you say to people, do you hate Toyota? Do you hate GM? Do you hate Ford? They'd say no. Do you hate Occidental Petroleum? I don't think they say they hate. I think a lot of the anger are directed at the largest corporations. And these are now Google and Apple and Facebook and entities like that have enormous control over our lives. Whatever you say about GM of the old days, GM couldn't monitor how you shop. It couldn't send you a message that was kind of creepy, that knew more about you than you knew about yourself. It didn't data mine your private communications. When I grew up, the only problem with privacy is we had a couple of people on our farm line that liked to listen in, and then they click and you could hear them because they were, desperate for information about anything. And
was that a party? They call those party lines.
Okay, so those statistics are fabulous.
The statistics are fabulous, and of course we like the party line discussion also.
She lets on that she has never even heard of in her tone of voice, it sounds like she's never even heard of a party line. But we grew up. She's
never experienced it. She had heard of it, but she hadn't really experienced it.
And it was like when we were kids growing up. Of course, we were out in the rural America. We had a party line, and we were talking about this just a minute ago about that. It was up to you not to answer the other person on your party line. The party line might be two, but it was sometimes three.
Oh, it could be half a dozen people.
Well, it wasn't for us, because probably we had a line down our rural road. For a long time, there's only two people on that road. Yeah. Okay, so we would have I can't remember, we'd have our calls would be two rings, and our neighbor would be three rings. So you knew when your neighbor was being communicated with.
And as I was commenting to you, the teenagers wanted to listen in. The adults would follow the rules and not listen in to what the conversation of the other person. But teenagers
get caught. Because you could always hear breathing. Someone's listening in, and you'd get on there and you'd say, "Is there somebody else on this line?" But see, we knew who was on our line. If someone was eavesdropping, we knew who it was because there was only certain nights. So you were in Baton Rouge when y'all had a party line?
Well, Clinton, Louisiana, but
and
also
you had
Baton Rouge. You could choose to save money and get a party line.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Even in the city, you could.
That's
choose
right.
To do that.
It was cheaper to get the party line. This is something that is not experienced anymore because These were handheld desk set phones.
Yeah.
And you don't even have those these days. No. You don't even have landlines. So this is ancient history. The party line is ancient history. And Sammy, the interviewer, is like, what's that? I don't know how old she is.
Isn't that called a party line?
There was such a thing. It's good to know Victor Hanson remembers it.
Yeah.
I wonder how old he is. Okay, well, back to your topic.
Back to my topic, and I'm going to go back to George W. Bush, and this relates.
Does it relate?
I'm going to make it relate.
That's good to know.
They were telling us the reason we were going into that war, we had been attacked, so something needed to happen.
This is 9/11.
Okay. We had been attacked. Something had to happen. But what they told us, what they kept telling us
destruction, weapons of mass destruction.
Well, what they kept telling us was that those people in the Middle East are just jealous of us because we're free. We're such good people, and those people are oppressed, and we need to go in and rescue them.
Is that what they told us?
They told us that over and over again.
Well, I thought they told us there's huge banks of weapons of mass destruction.
Said that too.
We've got to go make sure they don't use them.
Yeah,
anyway.
There were a whole host of lies that they told us.
Yeah.
My point is that back then, and it continued to the present day, it was difficult. We knew that didn't make sense.
Oh, I did not. I bought the weapons of mass destruction line.
Yeah, but did you buy that whole thing about they hate us because we're free?
I don't know that I even heard that.
Well, that's my point.
Case.
That was so silly that we knew that couldn't be true, but you couldn't get information back then. All we had was the big three networks. We just didn't have very open information, and we had been attacked, so we had pretty good reason. We knew we had to do something. So we accepted all that stuff, but it didn't make sense until...
So we had the three networks around 2000. Around 2000, we didn't have more than three networks. Is that correct? Anyway, you're saying that the information was limited. Around 9/11, the information was limited, and we were told, we bought whatever we were told by the main three networks. Okay.
So then we had a presidential debate, and our libertarian hero comments that, hey, those people didn't attack us because we're so good.
Ron Paul.
Yeah, Ron Paul. Mm-hmm. He said they attacked us because we've been bombing them for 10 years.
Because we continue to bomb them.
We don't even inform our own population that we're bombing these poor people. And it started to come out. Yeah, I was horrified that Ron Paul would say such a thing. How dare you accuse us of that? But he starts backing it up. He doubled down and he backed it up, and he was telling the truth. I mean, we had been bombing that part of the world for years, and our industrial complex was making all kinds of money in the process.
Yeah, and that's what one of the libertarians' goal is to disclose how ridiculously wasteful and crazy all these wars are.
So let me try to tie that back to my point.
You're going to have a real goal in tying that back to your original topic.
Is that I have been frustrated and pessimistic because the only solution we ever saw to the problem was to elect someone new, which we did. Or, we had George Bush and then Obama, but then we got every one of these presidents candidates said they were going to get out of the war, and they never did.
Yeah.
At least Donald Trump didn't get us into new wars. But this was frustrating. We were headed the wrong direction. It wasn't working to elect new people. They just spent the same money and spent the same or more money and got us into more wars, or at least didn't get us out of existing wars.
When you look at how much, we keep trying to elect presidents that have business sense and that are frugal. And if you look at how much the presidents spend, it'll blow you away, because some of them you think are frugal spent like amazing amount of money. So the point you're making is, the people have a goal, let's call it like get out of war or cut down on the debt, and we elect somebody and it doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work. That's your point. And it really doesn't work. It doesn't work to try to elect a competent president.
And that seemed like the only solution to the problem.
Yeah.
We had these elections. At least we had that. I mean, other countries don't even, a lot of other countries
We ought to
don't
tackle
even have
that in a separate podcast someday about why you can't elect someone who's competent. Okay, go ahead.
And then the realization that it's getting worse and worse, these big companies and the political influence and their power.
This is the
over our
part that you're
country.
talking about is depressing to you.
This was depressing to
This
me.
was depressing.
In this past week, I have been
In this past
optimistic.
week. Wow.
optimistic only in this past week.
Oh my God.
But
hopefully that's not a fleeting emotion for you.
yeah,
It'd be nice if you could be
We'll see.
optimistic occasionally.
we'll see. Well, I think I've had a.
You're gonna show us why your
I've-
pessimism has changed to
I've made
optimism.
a switch. And the switch is this. I was pessimistic because I am confident that the government never does a good job solving any problem. And it was clear to me, I don't even care who you elect. As soon
Yeah.
as you elect these people, they get power hungry, and they're are almost as pitiful at solving a problem as anyone else. So I was pessimistic about this. And then this past week, Elon Musk enters the fray.
Well, you got to
And he
admit that's a sea change.
And it suddenly dawns on me, wait a minute. This is the free market responding to the problem about free speech. The free market has finally gotten fed up. Well, I say finally, but anyway, has gotten fed up with the lack of alternatives and the lack of free speech. And the free market is entering the fray.
The richest man on the planet, I'm told, I have no real data on that, got fed up with his lack of free speech and bought Twitter. Now that behavior can't be repeated very often.
No, it can't.
Because that's a unique thing. But what you're saying is that it creates hopefulness in you that there are people that are that rich that have the principle of open communication. Now we'll see if he can be corrupted, but he's obviously an entrepreneur.
Well, at least he has inspired everybody to talk about free speech.
Well,
which is the first
he's
step.
done more than that. I mean, yeah, that move is astounding by Elon Musk.
And at the same time, I find it almost humorous that here he is, a big corporate business guy. And
Is he a big corporate business guy?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know
you don't
anything.
get to be the big richest man in the world.
I don't know any facts about him, but instead of saying here's my thought. He might not be a big corporate business guy. He might be the richest entrepreneur on the planet. He could be an entrepreneur instead of a big corporate guy.
I don't want to get too carried away with being hopeful about Elon Musk because he could go off in left field too. But I'm optimistic when I see that the free market has responded to a problem. And this problem, Disney made it really clear, this problem has really gotten off track where these people get so carried away, these big powerful corporations get so carried away with their power, they try to institute completely silly stuff. I mean, it isn't just war anymore, which is completely silly
unnecessary war.
When you look at it, I mean, here we are. Ukraine, no one attacked us with Ukraine. We're on the other side of the world, and our generals are predicting that we're going to be involved in this for years, that we're going to be involved in feeding the Ukrainians.
Someone's predicting that?
Yeah.
I don't know, but this is another topic about, this is a totally different topic, but your point is that you're optimistic because Elon Musk, his behavior has opened up your eyes to the individual action on the principles of free market, and I call it the entrepreneur has gained our opinion. But you know what's optimistic about the Victor Hanson tape that you played for me was this survey.
Yeah.
That our population
is still there.
The people that believe in the principles of individual free market choice is really high.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another thing that I got from that tape was that, and I think Victor Hanson suggested it, was that there are these shadow corporations. People don't hate corporations. They don't hate the business world. They don't hate the idea of individual entrepreneurship and individual freedom and individual innovation and individual profit. They don't hate that. They hate the conglomerates who cheat and want to manipulate our thoughts.
Yeah.
So to me, the most positive thing about that tape wasn't what Victor Hanson said or Elon Musk. It's that damn survey that Sammy came up with. Now, I see that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I see that all the time, but not in the psychology world, which is 94% progressive. They don't think in those terms. They don't think in terms of the principles of human systems and open communication, and they're basically on the other side of the process.
Mm-hmm. So I have something silly to add. What do you call people who work for Elon Musk? Musketeers.
That is silly, but it's cute. Musketeers. Does he call them musketeers?
I don't know.
Now, you bring up an interesting point about whether he has a corporate. I wanted to say something about what we were talking about, 15 minutes ago, and why we can't effect change. Why the citizens who still believe in the principles of individualism and entrepreneurship and self-responsibility and accountability and all the things that go with the individualism way of conducting human affairs. And I wouldn't have known this if Donald Trump hadn't taken office, that the reason you can elect a disruptor like Donald Trump, a total disruptor, totally immune to feedback, totally like, screw you, I'm going to do this my way, holding his town hall meetings. You can elect him, and the blob got him. The blob took him down. The bureaucratic, industrial complexes, I don't even know what all goes into the blob.
They're still suing him.
Yeah.
He's getting new lawsuits all the time.
Yeah. And you pointed out that the feds now are the blob is now attacking Elon Musk.
Yes.
And Tesla. So the blob in this country, the feeder blob, the blob that, the blob, when I saw that, I didn't know Steve McQueen was in that movie until we pulled it up on HBO. But
you need to reserve that for one of your podcasts, because that's really funny. The blob is good.
Well, we've already talked about the blob.
Okay, you ought to do it again.
Well, I'm doing it right now. I hope we're still recording.
All right, a third time.
You hadn't cut me off yet. But the blob is a really good phenomenon. Of course, that song they have at the beginning of that movie.
That's what's great.
It creeps, it crawls, they make it not scary because it's so flippant, but it's pretty good. But the idea of the blob consuming people and resources and taking over, that's all it had to do was touch you. Yeah. So that's what got Donald Trump. We have a disruptor. And that was his job, is to expose the blob. I feel sorry for him because he gets such a bad rap by the progressives. But the fact is, he was a heroic figure because he's taken it on the chin the whole time, and he's a happy warrior with it. I doubt whether anyone's going to take that guy completely down.
I think he stands a good chance of becoming president again.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Twice
impeached president gets elected again.
And wouldn't that be interesting? He's exactly what we need, an in-your-face, F-you disruptor who doesn't give a rat's ass about anything. He doesn't seem to care about anything.
Now, by the way, he has created a free speech platform.
Yeah,
which he hopes that prospers.
It's called.
But that just means
social. Wait, what is it called?
I don't remember.
It's got truth in the name of it.
Truth Social.
Truth Social, and it competes with Twitter, and everybody's betting on whether he gets back on Twitter.
But that's good. It's good to have alternatives. If Twitter goes down the tubes again, maybe Truth Social will be it, or maybe Donald Trump doesn't have quite the clear vision of what free speech is.
He's got that genius son-in-law. I doubt whether he doesn't know what he's doing. So this is very important, and I really applaud you for looking at this, because if you think that things are final, nothing's final in human history. I mean, there's always corrections and cycling going on, and you've decided that you're not as depressed about what you're seeing, because Elon Musk rides in on a white horse and slays the Twitter dragon.
I'd say as long as we have free speech, there is hope to turn the dark forces around.
Yeah, as long as you can expose. Yeah. He says he's even going to expose the algorithms that were manipulating all of us. Now, I'm not on Twitter because I have a real disability. It's like I don't know how to use these things, and I don't want to use them. The idea of having to read more emails to me is, this is an age thing. These young people can do it. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. But that's a real...
Our son says that's how he gets most of his news, is gets on Twitter.
Well, I may have to, I'm not a late adapter. I'm a no adapter. Some of this, like, how can you think when you can't even breathe for the deluge of information falling down on your ears constantly during the day?
Well,
that's another issue.
I had to get off of Facebook because I was spending all day looking at people's menus and the dish that they made.
What is it with people was like...
And, the inconsequential details
That's what
of their day.
I find it. I got a lot of ageism issues here going on because I find it so superficial. In fact, I find a lot of people to be superficial and...
Well, it's kind of addicting, reading all that stuff. And these are people you know and like, and reading what's going on with them. But I finally just had to get out of it.
It's like people that would send me their jokes like 3 times a day. It's like, I don't need to see jokes 3 times a day. Anyway, I found it overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure you want to conclude.
Yeah, but I think we've kind of concluded several times is that it's refreshing to me. I'm no longer pessimistic.
Wow, that's a big turn.
It is a big, earth-shaking realization that the free market has the ability to insert itself into the process that normally we depend on government to do. That the free market can get in there, because the government was never going to give us true free speech. Wasn't going to happen. They just avoid the Constitution the best they can. We were not
the blob government.
The blob government. We weren't going to get it. And here comes Elon Musk and Donald Trump with free market solutions to that problem. And that free speech is the solution to the problem. It is, as long as we have that kernel that we can exercise, I'm optimistic that we can go through our cycles and stay basically free.